Hey guys, we're going to talk a little bit more about fractions this week. We did a little bit last week on converting. This week we're going to talk about fraction operations. So when or you need a common denominator to do these two operations, which is adding and subtracting. So just remember, anytime I add or subtract, we need to find a common denominator in order to do it. What is a reciprocal? Hopefully you remember from about 5th, 6th grade, a reciprocal is a flipped or an inverted fraction, and it's used when we divide. Last week, we talked about changing mixed numbers to improper. So when I change a mixed number, say 1 1/2 to an improper, we need to use Texas. And we're going to practice some of these in just a second. How do you simplify a fraction? To simplify, we need to find the greatest common factor and divide it by the numerator and the denominator. Another way is we could do a factor tree, find the prime factorization, and simplify the numbers that they both have in common. So let's practice some. If I had 11/4 plus 5/12, well, first of all, I always like to rewrite this vertically. For me, it just makes more sense. So 11/4 plus 5/12. Now, we are adding, so remember we do need to have a common denominator. So I've got 4 and 12. So if you're never sure of what it is, list your multiples: 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. 12, 24, well, I'm gonna stop because they both have a 12. So I know my common denominator is 12. If I look at my top fraction, 4 times 3 is 12. So 11 times 3 is 33. And 12 times 1 is 12. So 5 times 1 is 5. If it'll write for me. All right, and now we just add. So 33/12 plus 5/12. 33 plus 5 gives me 38. And the denominator stays the same. However, this fraction is improper. So we need to use inside out. So remember, in my division house, this is inside, this is out. So inside is 38, out is 12. So I don't know how many times 12 goes in, so I'm going to list my multiples: 12, 24, 36, 48. 48's too big, so I'm going to go with 36, which was 3 times. I can subtract, and I have a remainder of 2. Well, my little trick to remember how to write this back to an improper fraction is we divide numbers. And the way that works is we're going to look at it as we divide numbers. The W in we stands for whole. The D in divide stands for denominator, and the N stands for numerator. All right, I'm going to clear up a little space for us. So now we just write our fraction the way we see it. We divide numbers. So I get 3 and 2/12. However, 2/12 I can simplify and divide them both by 2. 2 divided by 2 gives me 1, and 12 divided by 2 gives me 6. So 3 and 2/12 simplifies down to 3 and 1/6. So remember, common denominators, add, and then simplify if it's improper. All right, so get a subtraction problem. Again, I like writing it vertically. So I've got 4 and 1/5 minus 2 and 3/8. So I don't like using that. All right, same thing. I need to find a common denominator. Well, I have 5 and 8. I don't know what it is, so I'm gonna list my multiples. 5, 10, 20. Good grief. Let's try that again. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Let's try 8, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. Still don't have anything in common, so I'm gonna come back up here to 5, 35, 40. There we go. So my common denominator is going to be 40. So I'm gonna rewrite this to give myself more space to work, because I don't like to get all crammed up. So our common denominator was 40. Whole numbers stay the same. And denominator we said was 40. Now, 8 times 5 gave me 40, so 3 times 5 is 15. And 5 times 8 gave me 40, so 1 times 8 is 8. And now we add 8 40ths plus 15 40ths, give me 23 40ths. Oops, I'm not adding, I am subtracting. So let's try that again. See, even teachers make mistakes. So let's try it again. We're going to take 8 40ths and subtract 15. Well, if I have $8, I cannot spend 15. So I'm going to have to borrow. So I'm going to take away a whole from this 4, and that becomes a 3. Now, I had 8 40ths. I borrowed 1 whole, which I can rewrite as 40 40ths. So if I already had 8, really that just means I have 48 40ths. Or my trick is to add going up. 40 plus 8, 48. Now let's try subtracting. I'm going to take 48, subtract 15. Let's see, 8 minus 5, 4 minus 1. So I get 33. Denominator stays the same. And now I'm going to subtract my whole numbers. 3 minus 2 is 1. 33 40ths cannot be simplified, so I am done. Okay, let's try multiplying and then a division one. Multiplying fractions. I do not need a common denominator, but I do need to rewrite mixed numbers. I cannot leave them in a mixed form to multiply or divide. So this goes back to what we did last week. First of all, we live in Texas, so I'm going to label it Texas. And just like Drake, I'm going to start from the bottom. We're going to do 3 times 3, which is 9, plus 1, which is 10. Denominator stays the same. Multiplied by 2/5. We're going to multiply straight across. 2 times 10 and 5 times 3. And then we're going to simplify. Now, if you can look at 20 and 15 and see right away what you need to simplify by, wonderful. If you don't, let's look at a factor tree. So 2 times 10, 2 is prime. So we circle it and break down the 10. 2 and 5, 2 is prime, 5 is prime. So I can rewrite this as 2 times 2 times 5. And then 15 is 3 times 5, both of which are prime. So I can just say 3 times 5. Now, to simplify this, they both have a 5. So I'm just going to cross those out. Now, what's left is what the answer is going to be. So let's simplify the top, the numerator. 2 times 2 is 4. And on the bottom, all I have is a 3. That's improper. So we would do inside, out, and divide inside, out. I know 3 goes into 4 once. and then I have a remainder of 3, remainder of 1, and we're gonna go we divide numbers, and I get an answer of 1 1/3. Again, if you are good with your math facts, a lot of these steps are going to go a lot faster. So if you still struggle with your multiplication facts, make sure that you are practicing. Last one, and then you're going to try one on your own. All right, same as before with multiplication, I cannot leave it in a mixed fraction form. I have to convert it. So we're going to do Texas. So 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Divided by, we're not changing anything yet, 8, and we're going to write that as a fraction by putting it over 1. Now, remember, we do keep, change, flip, or leave, multiply, reciprocal, LMR, if you learned it that way. We're going to keep 10/3. We're going to change division into multiply, and we're going to flip 8/1 into 1/8. Then now it's a multiplication problem, multiply straight across. 10 times 1, 3 times 8, and then we simplify. Again, if you see what to simplify by, wonderful. If not, we're going to break it down. 10 is 2 times 5, both are prime. 24, I can do 2 times 12. 12 is not prime, so 2 times 6. 6 is not prime, so 2 times 3. And I get 10 is 2 times 5. 24 was 2, 2, 2, and 3. And let's simplify. They both have a 2, so I'm going to cross it out. And that's the only thing they have in common. So I'm going to multiply everything back out to get my final answer. All that's left on top is a 5. And on bottom, I have 2 times 2, which is 4, times 3, which is 12. So my final answer is 5/12. Again, if you're good with your math facts, this should be a lot simpler and a lot easier and quicker for you. Some things to kind of help you remember when we talk fractions, we read them like a book. We read them from top down and from left to right, depending on how it's written. So we also read division problems the same way. So again, we're going to talk inside out. So when I look at this, remember that's the inside, that's the out, because we read books from top down. This is inside and that is out, because again, we read books from left to right. So therefore, the inside number was a 2 and the outside is a 3. So if you just remember inside out, that'll help you set up your division house. So questions we need to remember to ask ourselves is all fractions are what? Division problems. What's the movie? Inside Out. And what do we do with numbers? We divide numbers. Remember, that was the mixed fraction that we wrote, whole, numerator, denominator. Again, inside out. So we wrote it, it would look like that. Top in, bottom out. We divide numbers. So if I multiplied it out, in the end, we would end up putting our we, and then the divide, and then whatever our remainder is was our numbers. All right, let's practice. When you click on this, it's going to bring you to a thing where you have to make a copy, and you're going to practice working out multiplication and division, add and subtract problems. As you enter your answers, if the box turns green, you know you got it correct. And at the end, a mystery picture will appear.